Hello and welcome. I am Raghav, and in this session we will learn about page object model, and we will see what is page object model, what are the advantages of a page object model project, and how do we implement page object model in our WebdriverIO project. This is going to be very easy and very interesting, and I will keep all the notes, all the links in the description of this video. In case you find the pace of this video slow or fast, you can always set the pace from the player settings. So let's get started. In the last session, we have already started with the WebdriverIO project. We looked at the setup and we created some tests. We executed the test. We also looked at reporting. Now starting with page object model. Page object model is a design principle, and this principle says that we should keep our objects separate from our test scripts. And in page object model design, we create a class for every page of our application. For example, let's say we have a login page, we have a home page, we have a registration page, we have a products page. For every page, we will create a class, we will create a separate file and a separate class, and we will keep all the objects of that class that we have to use in that particular class file. And all the actions as well that we have to do on that page will go into that particular class, so that we will find all the objects and all the actions for that page in that pages class, and it will keep the code very clean, and it will help in it will make it reusable, very clean, and it will also help whenever we have any changes from the backend. So let me show you an example. Let's say I go to any sample application. Let's say I go to this internet login sample application, and here, let's just say we have this login page. And here we have to interact with three elements, that is username, text box, password text box, and the login button. So in page object model, we will create a class for login page, and we will keep these three objects, their locators, and the actions, that is enter username, enter password, and click on login button in that particular class. Now, let's say this username may be used or can be referred in 50 different test cases. Whenever there is a change from the backend, let's say the locator changed, the developer has made some changes, we will not have to worry. We do not have to go to the all the 50 locations and make the change manually. We just have to go to the class of this login page and make the change there itself. That is one single place, and it will be referred to in all the places wherever this object or this action is being used. So this is the advantage. It keeps our code very clean. And here, as I said, we keep the objects as well as the methods in a separate class. And it also helps us to create a separate object repository for our application. Now, this is going to be very easy. I will show you a demo in a moment. So the advantages, as we have discussed, it will make our code maintainable, easy, cleaner. It will help in reusability of our code and actions. It improves the readability as well, and it makes it faster and more reliable. So if you want, you can take a screenshot of these pages just to keep it handy with you. We will start with the demo. And to show you exactly how page object model works and to make you learn it in the best possible way, I will first create a test in our simple way that we have been doing until now, and then I will convert the same test into a page object model design. So you can see the difference and you can learn how exactly this is done. You can follow along with me. So here, uh, let us take this example only. This is the login page. We will create a test for this login page. So I will open my VS Code, and this is the project we created in our last session. I will go to the test folder and the specs folder, and these are the tests that we already have in our spec folder. This example.e2e.js we got along with our WebdriverIO setup, and then in the last session we created this test1.spec.js. I'm just going to create a new file under this specs folder, and I will call this as login.spec.js. And here I will first create a describe block. It should show me the auto suggestion. This should be coming from the Mocha library. Yes, it is showing me. And I will give brackets, and then I will give a title here. I will say demo tests. You can give any title here, and then I will give a function declaration. I can say function. a bracket start and stop, and then a curly bracket start and stop. Or the other way is, as we have seen in the last session, to give a function name or to declare a function, I can just say, I can give a bracket start and stop and then give a arrow symbol using equals and greater than symbol, and then a curly bracket start and stop. And this stop brackets I will take to the next line. And then within this describe block, I will create a it block. And this is also a test function from Mocha. And the syntax is same. I will give a title. I will say login test. And then I will give the function declaration like this. And I can move the stop brackets in the next line. So I will just save my work. This is my test. Now here I will add the steps. The first step is I have to go to this URL, that is the internet login application. So I will copy the URL and here I will say browser. Now here the auto suggestion it is showing me is not what I want to use. So if I press enter, it will just import this library and use this one, which I don't want. So I will press escape on my keyboard and then I will say dot URL, and within brackets and quotes, I will give the URL, which is this. And then after this, I will have to find the locator for this username text box and then enter the username. The username here is Tom Smith and the password is super secret password. So for that, I will use $. As we have seen in the last session, we use $, to find a single element and $, to find multiple elements. So you can think $, is synonymous with find element function. I will say $, and then in the bracket, I will give the locator. So let us find the locator for username. I will go to username and do a right click, inspect, and let me see what we get here. So here for the username, we have name property and we also have ID. So if you have ID, that is the good to use. It is mostly the best option if we have the ID. So I will say hash. We use hash if we have the ID property. If we have class property, we use dot. And if we don't have ID or class, then we can create our own locator that I will show you in a moment. So I will say $hash username, and the function is set value to enter a text, and the value for username is let us see, it is Tom Smith. So I'll copy it from here and paste it here. Okay, and as we have seen in the last session, with the latest WebdriverIO versions, you have to use async here before the function declaration, and here we have to use await keyword. Okay, then I will have to do the same thing for password. I will say await $, and within brackets, I will use the property for password box. I will do a right click and say inspect. And for password, let us see what all we have. So for password as well, we have the ID property, which is password. So let us just use this. I will say hash password. And here also we will use the function set value and give the value for password. So the value for password is super secret password along with the exclamation mark. So that's what I will use here. And then we have to click on the login button. So I will say await $. And for the login button, let us see what all we have. I will right click on the login button and go to inspect. And here, yes. So if you see for the login button, we do not have any direct property like ID or a name. So what I can do is I can use this type submit, this property, this value type and its value submit. And there can be many other elements on this page or more elements on this page which have the type value as submit. So for that, I will also use this type of this element, which is button. So using a combination of button and type submit, I can create a unique locator. So here I will say button and then within square brackets, I will say find a element of type button where the type value is equals to submit, and submit will go in the double quotes like this. So this should be able to find the login button, and here I will say dot click. The function here is click. So this is how it will work, and this is how we can create a very simple test. So before going further, let us try to run this and check if it runs fine. I will first go to the terminal. I will open a new terminal, and here I will say we have already learned the commands to run the test cases in our last session. So here I will say npx WDIO run, and then I will give the name of the configuration file. I will say WD and press tab on the keyboard. It will auto complete. And now this will run all the tests, but I have to run a specific test. So I will say hyphen spec, and then I will give the location of this login.spec file. So I will say, I will first go to the test folder. I will say TE and press tab to auto complete. Then I will press SP and press tab to auto complete. And then I will say login dot and press tab to auto complete the name, and I will run. Make sure that you save your work before running the test, and let's see what happens. So it is taking some time for the, as I have opened this project again, but from the next time onwards, it will be quite fast. So here, yeah, it opens the browser. It was fast. Let me do it again. Okay, I will do it again. I will clear the terminal and I will run the command again. I am pressing the up arrow on my keyboard to go to the last command, and I will run it. And let's see this time. It has started the execution and opens the browser, goes to the application, enters username, password, and clicks on the login button, which was pretty fast. Now, after doing login, we may also want to check if the login was successful. We should get the success message. So how to do that? Let us see that as well before moving to page object model and converting into a page object model. So let me just enter the username, and this is the password. And I will click on login. And here after login, I go to this, I get to this page. Now here you can check anything. You can check this message or this message, or you can also check that the logout button is present. That will confirm that we are on the login page. Let's say if we have to check this message, you logged into a secure server. So for that, let me first check the inspect and check the locator of this element. So here we have the ID property, which is flash. I will just use this. So here I will say await dollar, and I will say hash because this is ID, and the ID is flash. Okay. Now here I can use the function get value to get the value from this element, the text value, or I can say get text as well. Get text should work here. So if you see, if you have any doubts, you can always check. If I say WebdriverIO get text, you can see here we have got the get text function, which we can use to get the text from any element, and then we can do the comparison. So we can do like this, or the other way can be to do a direct assertion. I can use the expect function here. So here you can see we can use expect, and then we can check any strings or numbers, or we can check the URL. We can check the URL contains some particular text, or the title of the URL, title of the browser. We can check if the element is displayed, if the element is present, if the element is clickable, to have if the element has some particular attribute. We can also check the element property and enabled, disabled, selected, not selected, checked, not checked. All this we can do, but we want to check the text. So we can use this to have text, or we can also use this to have text containing. This is what we can use. So let us try this. So here we will say await and then use expect and give the element locator. So let us try to do that. I will say await and then say expect, and then this is the element locator. I will give this here, and then we have to say dot to have text containing and give the message or the text. So this is what I will copy from here, and I will say to have text containing, and then in the brackets within quotes I will use this text you logged into a secure server. Okay, you can also put this in the next line so that you can see the complete code here. Okay, and I can remove this. I can go to this line and press Ctrl X on my keyboard to delete the complete line. So now you can see this is how we can check the text value as well. You can save and run again. So I will go to the terminal and I will run the command again, and we will check if this works. So it opens the browser, goes to the application, logs in, and yes, this is done. It is all passed, but we will still confirm by checking the logs on the terminal. So here, let me see where did it. Yes, you can see here it has checked you logged into a secure area, and this is fine. This is working fine. Okay, so this is done. Now we have to implement, or we have to convert this test into a page object model design. So for that, step number one is for each page of our application, we should have a class. In this case, we are working just with the login page now. So we will create a class for the login page. So for that, I will go to my test folder. Now you can see while we set up in the last session, when we set up WebdriverIO, we also selected page object design, and that is why we already have this page objects folder here, and we also have some uh, files here. But in case you do not have this, you can always create a new folder under the tests folder. Let me show you that. I will first create a new folder. I'm not using this already generated folder. I will go to my test folder, and I will create a new folder here, and I will call it as pages. Okay, I have created a folder here. Now under this folder, I will create a new file. So for login page, I will say login.page.js. You can name it anything, but just keep the name meaningful so that anybody can know that this is the file for the login page. So I have named it login.page.js. Okay. Now here I will create a class. So I will say class, and I will name the class as login page. You can name it anything, but again, keep the names meaningful and a curly bracket start and stop. Now here, for every object, we can create a locator, and we can keep the locator in a function, or you can create a single function and get all the object locators there. So here we will create get functions. So let's say we have username, password, and login button. For login page, I will say get, and I can say username, or to keep it more meaningful, I can give the name as username text box, and create a function like this. Inside this function, I will return the locator of the username text box. So I can just copy it from my test script. This is the locator for username. I will put it here. So what does this mean is, whenever this function will be called, it will directly return the locator of username. So wherever we have to find or locate the username, we can just call this function username text box. Similarly, I will create one more get function called password text box. And here I will return the password locator or the password selectors. Then I will say get login button, and here I will return the locator for the login button, and I can just copy it from my test scripts from here. And then let us say I will also create a function for a message. So I will say login message, and here I will say return, and this is the locator for the login message element. Okay, so here you can see this is what I have done as of now. I have created functions to get all the objects that we have to work with in the login page. Now, actually, this login message should come in the home page. But for now, let us just assume that it is here so that I can show you I can convert the complete test in a page object model design. Okay. Now, after creating locator functions for all the objects of that page, we will now create the action methods. So we have done step number 2, we created locators. Now we will create methods or action functions that are the actions to be performed on the objects. So I can say, I can create an action, I can create a function, enter username, and then I can create a function, enter password, and then I can create a function, click login button or click login, anything we can do. Okay, now it depends on you, it depends on your requirement and the way you want to create these functions. You can create atomic functions. Atomic functions means every function having a single action, like enter username, enter password, click on login. Or if you believe that you can club all these actions in a single function, you can do that as per your understanding. If you think it is not very complex and you can use a single function and it will be understandable by everyone in your team, you can go by that. So let's say instead of all these atomic functions, I will just create a single function called login. And here in the login function, I will do all the actions on these objects. So I will say await, and then I will say this dot, this is a keyword, and we use this keyword to refer to the class, variable, or functions. And because I have to refer this class function itself, so I'm saying this, and here I will say username text box, and this will return me the locator of the username text box. And then I will just say dot set value, and the value that I have to, the username value, that is Tom Smith. Okay, and I think I should also be using async keyword here. Okay, now this will get the username object and will enter this value, that is Tom Smith here. But this has made this not reusable. I can only use this particular action with this value, that is Tom Smith. And this is not what we want. We want that this function and all the steps of this function should be reusable. So for that, instead of doing a hard-coded, adding a hard-coded value here, I will remove this hard-coded value, and I will take the value of username in the function parameters or the function arguments. That means that whenever this login function will be called, it will ask the user to pass a parameter for username, and whatever comes here as a parameter, I will use here, username. Okay. Now you can name it anything. You can call it ABC, and here also I can say ABC. That is all fine, but it's better to keep meaningful names. So I'm saying username here. And here also, I will just refer whatever comes in this function as parameter in username, I will refer it here. Same way, I will say await this dot password text box dot set value. And again, I will get a value for password in the function parameter. So I will get a value for password. And the same I will refer here in the in this function. And then click on login button. So for that, I will just say await this dot login button dot click. And then I can create one more function. I can add the function at the step here itself to check the message, or because this is not a part of the login page and actually it should come in the home page class. But just for now, I'm adding this check message function. And here I will just add this code to check the message. And of course, I will change this locator from hard-coded value to this dot check message, which is calling, no, this is login message. So I will call this as login message. Okay, this is calling this. And then again here, again to make it reusable, instead of having this hard-coded value, I will just say whatever message is passed here as an argument should be checked here. Okay, so this completes my page object class, the login class for the login page class for the login page. And I can show you this complete class. I will press Control B to hide the sidebar, and this is my complete class. Okay, now the next step is we have to refer these methods, these functions in our test script. So for that, what I will do is I will go back to my test script, and here at the top, I will first create a constant. I will say constant, and I will name it as login page, and equals to, I will have to refer it from the login page file. So I will say require, and in brackets within quotes, I will say dot. And when I say dot /, you can see it is able to access example.e2e file, test1.spec file, which are present in the same folder, that is the spec folder where I have my login spec. So when I say single dot, it is able to go to just the parent folder, but I have to go one step up. So I will say double dot and /, and now you can see it is able to go to the pages folder. I will select pages and then again /, and I will select this login.page file, and from there this will get the login page. Okay, now after this I will refer the functions from the login page class. So after I go to the URL, I will say login page dot, and I should be able to access the functions, but I'm not able to access the functions here. So let's say for that, I think I will have to export. Sorry, this is not what I have to do. I will have to go to the login page class, and I can either export the class from here, or I should say at the bottom, after the class ends, I will say module dot exports equals new login page, and this should enable it to refer from here. So now if I say login page dot, and yes, I'm able to get the functions and all these variables. So I will say login, and when I go to this login function, now one more very important way to check the function. I want to check from where this login function is coming and what is there in this login function. So you can hover over this function, press Control on your keyboard or Command if you are on Mac. When you press Control and hover over this function, it will turn into a link, and then you can click the link and you can see it takes me to the login function from where it is referred. So I know if I have to call this function, I have to also pass the username and password values. So I will go back, and here I will pass the value for username, which is Tom Smith, and then I will pass the value for password, which is super secret password along with a exclamation mark. And that's it. Now I can delete all this, or for now I will just comment. I'm selecting all this and pressing Control and / on my keyboard. If you again press Control and / it will uncomment. And I will save. I can also say format document. Okay, so let's see if this works. I will go to my terminal, clear the terminal, and go to the last command, which is running this test file, and let us see if this works. So here it opens the browser, and it did not work actually. Let me see. It did not actually enter. So it says error, request failed with status 404 due to invalid session ID. I think the issue is I should have added await keyword here. Yeah. Let me now run it again and check. Save and run again. And it opens the browser, goes to the application, and yes, it is able to log in. So that means it is working fine. And of course, the next step to check the message, that also I can say await login page dot, and we have check message. And let me also confirm this is check message. And yes, here we also have to give the message, which is this one: you logged into a secure area. So let me add the message as well, and I will again run this and check. So this time we are checking the message as well. So save and run. It opens the browser, goes to the application, logs in, and yes, everything is passed. So this is how we can convert it. And now you can see, if I just remove all this or let it be here, you can see the difference. So now our code is very clean. We are keeping all our objects and all the actions separately. And from there, we can refer it anywhere we want. Whenever there will be any change in any of the objects or actions of this page, we only have to go to this page class, that is login page, in this case, class login page, and we can make the changes here. And we do not have to worry about changing it anywhere else. It will all be referred from here. So this is how we can implement page object model. These are some snippets, some scripts which we have already seen. I will keep all this in the notes in the description section. This is the login page class as we have created. This is the login test, and we have referred the login page here. So I hope this was very interesting, very useful. If you have any questions, you can let me know in the comment section, and I will see you soon. Thank you for watching, and never stop learning.